Recording. Okay, go.
Okay, excellent. Well, it is my pleasure and my privilege this afternoon to be speaking with Bill Blymiller. Bill was chosen by the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tampa to be recognized as Volunteer of the Month. And afternoon, Bill.
Good afternoon to you, and good to see you.
Good to see you too. So our little team here, our little volunteer recognition team, gave it some thought, and we thought we would start out a little differently. And instead of jumping right in and asking you specifics about your volunteer work, we thought we'd start out a little broader, maybe, and ask you, because we know you're a disciplined thinker, and ask you a little bit about why you chose to become a Unitarian and why maybe this particular church. Could you expound on that a little bit?
Oh yeah, I can. I'd love to. This is one of the stories that you enjoy telling. I am an atheist and a profound empiricist, and I'd really like to see evidence for things. But when I got about 55, I realized it wasn't going to be evidence for much. Besides, Harriet had been going to different churches depending on where we lived, and she had found the Unitarian Universalist Church. And I didn't go, of course, because I was an atheist and I don't go to church. It's kind of the definition of the whole thing. And she enjoyed it. And then she came back one day with this in her hand. This is a cassette tape. And it's a cassette tape of the Reverend Barbara Child from 2001. April 2001, called A Kind Word for Mortality. And Harriet brought this home to me and she said, and as only wives can, you need to hear this. All right. So I listened to it and it sounded kind of interesting to me, and it didn't mention Jesus or anything. And I seemed to be okay with that. I would have been okay if it mentioned Jesus too, but it didn't. And that was great. So I went to I followed her to the church. Now, honestly, I was afraid there might be some crumbles in the ceiling because I had not set foot in one of these things in quite a while. But I go in and I see the people who, as we all do, we like to see people that look like us. And I like to see people that don't look like us too. But when you're unsure of yourself, you sure look around and see a bunch of old. And pretty soon, it dawned on me that this wasn't the Baptist church of my sister's.
Yeah.
And one fella, Jack Robinson, who's dead, so you don't have to search him out here, but a fine humanist. What a great man. He was a USF teacher. And he caught my attention because one day we had a guest speaker who came in and talked to us about his book in which dark energy was the soul. He conflated those two things. And my memory is that at the end of his service, when he was asking for questions or comments, that Jack stood up and said, "Bullshit." I don't think Jack did. And when I talked to him later, he said, "No, I did not."
Yeah.
What I said was, "Where are your facts, sir?"
Yeah.
Well, that translated in my mind. And I thought, these are the kind of people I'd like to be around. They talk about things and they express their opinions, and then they go get a cup of coffee. Sounds like a wonderful thing. It took quite a while for me to adjust. It took me several years before I confessed to any of my friends that I was going to a church. I remember standing in the pulpit to make an announcement one time and I said, "I'm one of the new guys." And I thought, I've been here 6 years.
6 years, yeah.
New guys.
Yeah.
So I've had all kinds of wonderful experiences, and like many other volunteer organizations, if you're willing to do something, we'll ask you to do it. And I just have had a great time. I've been on the board for 10 or 12 years, and I've been every position on the board and head of committees, and it's just fun. And it serves an incredible purpose. And I'm going to be sexist here a little bit, not much. Men don't have much of a purpose in life except to protect and impregnate and take care of, right? Well, when you get to be a certain age, you're done with those. So you have to make yourself feel like you're worth something to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I found a group of folks for whom I could work as hard as I wanted to work,
Mm.
and they appreciated it.
Mhm.
And I made some friends with some other people who were just, I'm sorry I didn't have my whole life.
Yeah.
So that's how an atheist got in here. He was drugged by his wife
Mhm.
and then recognized it probably as, again, she was smarter than I was and knew what I needed
Yeah.
all along. So that's my history and background.
Bill, I don't think there's anything I can add to that except to say, I can tell how sincere you are. It's lovely to listen to what you have to say. I'm sure a lot of people relate to your need and your appreciation for recognition of facts. Who would ever have thought all these years later that facts would be so endangered? Could never have anticipated that. It is fascinating. And also how you speak to the need to make yourself purposeful, and that's a universal need for sure. So I know that you are, beloved here at the church, and you have worn many hats. Now maybe you could just be a little bit more specific, though, and because I know it's kind of hard to toot your own horn, but tell us a little bit about like what you have been doing most recently, maybe for which the board wanted to acknowledge.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. The Currently, I'm on the finance committee. I'm a finance guy, and our job is to make sure that there's enough money coming in, if we can, to run the organization and to advise the board on financial matters. And I do that now. I have to, here's my, see the King's X here? I'm an English teacher. All right. I went to school to be a scientist. I was going to be an engineer for my first couple of years. And then I discovered poetry. And I went to, I was an English major. I have a teaching degree in English. And I went to work in the telephone company and became a technologist. And then after I was a technologist, I'm telling you more history. After I'm a technologist, then I went into the parts in business that required finance, and I got a business thing. So here I am, an English teacher, talking to these folks about finance, and they believe me, which is fascinating to me. But we try to make sure that that the amount of money we have and the way we spend it is understandable to everybody.
Yeah.
You give money, I give money, we give time. We want to make sure that all that turns out to be as fun as possible.
Yeah, and that is an area where a lot of people feel intimidated. So communication is so important. And one of the things that I've reflected with the other people who've worked on this volunteer recognition project is one of the things, well, the thing that we enjoy the most is getting to know folks better. So thank you for telling me the details. I didn't know any of those things about you. It's so much fun to talk with you and having talked with the others too, and getting to know them. And the folks who watch this are also going to really appreciate that and like hearing about that.
Let me stop
So
for a second. I want to thank you, both you and the others that in your group that are doing this too. This replaces me standing next to somebody at coffee hour and letting one little fact drop and doing that over. This is what we need to know more about one another. Where'd you come from? How'd you get here?
yeah.
And what can we do to make you happier here? You make me happy when you come, but I can't, is there something I can do? Do you need purpose, or do you need counseling, or do you need a friend? Do you need, this is really helpful, and I'm really happy you're doing it.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Bill. I feel like we've got some good information here, and we might even be about ready. We've gone about 10, 15 minutes, about ready to wrap things up. How about you, Judy? You feeling good?
I think it sounds great. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.
Stay on for a minute though, Bill.
Recording.
Okay, well, Bill, we prepared a special treat for you. We have an in-house special guest, and here he is, Jamie Rose.
Surprise, Bill. Oh, volunteers, they work so hard, they really do a lot. From paperwork to singing songs to groundwork when it's hot. But volunteers, they have no song. Employees have their minimum
minimum wages.
Have a contract. Consultants get the high dollar volunteers. They don't get jack. Volunteers, 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 volunteers. But they get recognition. Thank you, Bill. Love you, Bill.
Oh, marvelous.
That was all spontaneous, you know, I mean.
Isn't it amazing? Who knew he could compose like that?
Yeah.
And can I say a couple things? Bill is so fantastic, and I know that all of us that do any kind of musical thing at church owe you so much, because the sound, how many times you've fixed the feedback loops, and how many times you've helped plug in everything, and get the projector for the Monday night music to work when no one else could, and just sitting next to you and playing. I miss it. I can't wait till we're all together, and here's to you, Bill.
Thank you. Gosh, that's great. I'm touched, truly.
Well, it looks like we have a few other special guests.
Good.
They have some messages for you as well, Bill. So Kim, can we go to you now?
Sure. Unfortunately, I don't have Jamie's musical ability, but
Drum it out. Drum it out.
yes, Bill is a fantastic musician. He's got great rhythm, which keeps my drumming honest, or it tries to. But my experience with Bill goes beyond the musical. Back when I became president of the board, I kind of got the job when the previous president quit, and I wasn't prepared at all. So I asked Bill to be my consultant. And fortunately, he met with me every month, and I learned a lot of history of our church, of UUism, and I would ask him sometimes for advice, and he would give me his opinion on things, and it wasn't necessarily that I had to take it, but it certainly helped me out a lot. And then sometimes he would come to the board meetings because he was a member of the COM, and I would get the Bill Blymiller kind of look of disagreement on occasion. But that wasn't frequently, and he never chewed me out or anything. So Bill has been a great mentor, a role model, and has certainly helped me grow in Unitarian Universalism. So Bill, thanks so much. I couldn't have got through that presidency without you, that's for sure. And we only came to blows almost, I think, once or twice. So.
Fair to have disagreements. Thank you, Kim, for those nice words. But thank you even more for stepping up when you needed to step up and to do the work that had to be done. And that's, I've run out of words about that. Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
That's a first.
I don't know if it's true, though.
Thank you so much, Kim, for those kind words, and for letting us all know what Bill has meant to you as a church member and as a Unitarian and a friend. And Russ, thank you for joining us. And I'll give you the spotlight now, Russ.
Well, sure. I'm not going to actually play. I do have a harmonica here, but
Come on, Russ, play a tune.
No, but I, Bill was one of the first people I met when I joined the church back in 2008, and I don't know quite what happened exactly. I became the president of the board after being appointed to the board to fill a vacancy that was a complete term. The person who had been elected either moved or whatever before the term started. And so anyway, Bill was was on the board at that time. He was our treasurer. I think he's kind of been our de facto treasurer forever, even when he isn't the treasurer. He, is always there to help out and make sure that things are being done properly, and never one to withhold concerns when they're there. I also find I actually am a kindred spirit to Bill in that I'm also a humanist, and we have conversations about differences between agnostics and atheists, and I happen to think I'm an agnostic rather than an atheist, but we like to argue about things like that. But Bill's also been a major part of music at the church, and I think that the first time I really encountered him that way was when we used to do Music Sunday, and this was in probably fall of 2008, soon after I came. And of course, I didn't know enough people in the church to know that I could possibly be part of it. So I listened in and was amazed at his talents, but also at the ability to get other people to share theirs. And I think that's been great. Cycling forward a few years, when we started doing Music Monday, there were 3 or 4 of us only, and including a couple of people who are no longer part of our congregation. But he was there pretty much from the very beginning, and really the one who figured out the technology. Kim McDonald, you probably remember the great big black binders that we probably still have buried in a cupboard somewhere. And that was what we were trying to do, was to share the words and lyrics that way. And Bill was the one who figured out, hey, we can actually use some of this technology that we already have, just in different ways, and was the one who figured out how to do that. I have to tell you, I am very much chomping at the bit to get back to making music with others again. And I happen to be among those who was fortunate to get their vaccine already. I'm hoping everybody can as soon as possible. And I think that is one of the things that, at least for me, really holds the church together. And again, really want to thank Bill for that. And I know that's only one part of the many things that he does for the church, but those are some of the things that are more significant for me.
Thank you so much, Russ. Thank you for all that information. And I think the words that I heard loudest there were encouraging others. And that's something, I think we've all witnessed with Bill, and just so appreciate. But thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. I think we're ready to bring it to a conclusion. So thank you, Bill. And thank you, everyone, for being here, and congratulations on Volunteer of the Month. I hope we surprised you a little bit.
I think, yeah. Thank you all so much. I'm going to have to go cry in the other room, all right?